Boobie Feaster and the Dallas area wide receivers are setting the trend nationally at the position, and we're going to tell you why today on The Portal.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yes, welcome back into The Portal. I am Brian Smith, your longtime college football recruiting analyst and writer. Thank you for making The Portal your first listen each and every day. Thank you for stopping in to talk some recruiting and some transfer portal with me. Today's show is brought to you by Gametime. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $20 off. Download Gametime today. We're going to talk a lot about the Dallas area, which means I got to bring in my guy, Marc Henry. And as we start, Marc, I'm going to talk about a guy that I'm going to turn it over to you, that somebody that you knew since sixth grade, I've known since eighth grade. And even in eighth grade, I remember seeing him like, yeah, I might take him as a ninth grader. Name is Boobie Feaster, plays at DeSoto High School, has already got 2 state championships. And as I said in the open, Marc, this city, Dallas, in the greater area, Fort Worth, Aledo, everywhere around the suburbs, it is as good a wide receiver group year in, year out as any city in the country. And here's why. These kids take it serious off the field. Track. State of Texas is great in track. They always have trainers. You got different guys like D-Rob and Hooks out there, and the other players going to other trainers all year round. It is football. It is the passing game. 7-on-7 in Dallas, in my opinion, is as good as it gets in the country, because not only is the training good, but they've got really good coaches. And as for Feaster in particular, I don't know if I've seen a kid that gets in and out of his breaks like he does, as strong as he does, understands sitting down in zone when he has to, or floating. He does all the little things that I think he's going to be a top 10 pick when he comes out. D-Rob kind of looks at him as one of his next guys. He's training him. But I know that there's a ton of other guys, and like Boobie's just one of them. And I've had a chance to see him multiple times, so I'm not a Dallas guy like you. Marc, what's your take on Feaster, and why are the Dallas kids so good at the wide receiver position?
Well, I think that, Ethan Feaster is one of the top players, regardless of position in his class in the country. We're talking about a guy that's got the length, the route running ability, the high IQ. You mentioned being able to pick and sit in the zones and find open holes in space. He does that. And his remarkable hands. I mean, he's one of those guys that really clutches the football away from his body. He's the total package. He can get deep. He's a guy that can be a red zone threat, and he's a polished route runner. But I think the big thing that I love about Feaster is his competitive nature as well. He's always been one of those guys that steps up when the time needs to be stepped up. He's a guy that can be counted on. He's played on this big stage. Since he was a freshman at DeSoto. That first state championship run, he was a part of that. The second one as well. This past year, I had a chance to catch a couple of games. He just seems to get better every time you see him. And then, you mentioned David Robinson. Shout out to D-Rob, always open. Is his mentor and one of his close confidants. And he trains with D-Rob year round. And you can see that every time that you get around him, he's got something that's better about his game. He's just a student of the game. And he's a guy that has the entire makeup and traits that you want in an elite receiver, an elite talent nationally. Everybody in the country is on this guy as far as the collegiate ranks go. And I think that before it's done, he's going to be one of those guys that goes down as one of the best players, not just receivers in the country. And I love his game. I love his competitiveness. And, he brings that as a skill set as well when he steps on the field.
Yeah, Feaster is a kid that I had a chance to see again here recently at Battle Miami, playing with Grand, the lead, and they've got all kinds of guys. Speaking of all kinds of guys, one of the people, if you're watching on YouTube today, got him on the sidebar here, Brayden Robinson. He plays with Grand. Different kind of receiver, but Lord have mercy, is he twitchy. He's another kid I saw in eighth grade at a tournament when I was with you one time. We were
right
at a DL7 tournament.
Right.
Holy cow, is he twitchy. As an eighth grader, he was the fastest kid on the field. And I'm not exaggerating. We were at a Dallas tournament.
Right.
He's sub 10.5. I mean, he's a Red Oak. Hats off to them for keeping. I'm sure he's had overtures from other opportunities to go to other schools. But What do you like best about Brayden Robinson? I just like how he makes guys miss. Like, it's gross. What do you like about him?
Well, his nickname is Quick Six, and that means that he can get you six in a hot minute. He's a guy that's shifty in space, really understands how to get open quickly. He understands how to set defensive backs up early and stack them. And if you don't get hands on him, he's going to be a problem all night long for you. He's a guy that also contributes in the special teams realm, can take a kick or a punt return back for six. But I think his overall, ability to get open from the snap is what makes him special. And then once he gets it in space and he gets a crease, it's over with. You mentioned the track speed. He was on a 4x1 a few years ago that won a state championship for Red Oak down in the state of Texas. So, Robinson's been there and done that. He's also a coach's son, so he has that football knowledge and IQ that sometimes you see in these guys. And he's just a flat-out playmaker, Brian. When he gets the ball in his hands, he's going to make something happen. And you have to account for a guy like that. At the next level, he's going to be a nightmare for someone in the slot. I know we had a talk a couple of weeks or last week. Notre Dame's real high on him. And there's a reason. He gives you instant offense when he gets the ball in his hands. And, Robinson's one of those guys that can take it and get sick for you in a New York minute. So, as well as his build, he's, compact build. So when he gets to the next level, he'll be able to contribute early because he has that build that's college ready as well.
If you're curious about his level of talent, Robinson's a class of 26, Feaster's class of 27. He can't even take OVs yet. But Miami, Ohio State, and Notre Dame are the first three that I saw with Robinson. So that kind of puts it in perspective. And again, trying to tackle him one-on-one on a slip screen or a reverse or jet motion, one of those little touch passes, man, you better get your butt low and be ready because his lateral ability is just nasty. Next
It's just one of those things where he knows how to do it, and he's an average defensive back at the high school level is not going to be able to function with this guy, and he understands concepts as well. And within the Red Oak offense, he's a guy that they want to feature and get the ball in his hands.
Next up, your guy Jalen Lott. This is somebody I'm not as familiar with. And Mark, you're a guy that lives in the Fort Worth area, so that's why I brought you on today. And thank you again, brother. Tell everybody why Jalen Lott is a dude.
Jalen Lott has the skill set to play multiple positions. He can play on the defensive side as well, special teams. But when he gets the ball in his hands, he's electric. A guy that has that twitchy ability in space, great hands. He's got a nice catch radius to go up and get the football. But when he gets the ball in his hands, he's dynamic and he can make people miss in the open field. And when he gets north, it's six, and it's a guy that they featured heavily at Frisco Panther Creek this year. He's also a guy that excels on the track. He was a state champion last year, and this guy is going to be one of those guys that you'll see on Saturdays that's going to be prominent when he finally makes a decision. I mean, Oregon, Ohio State, Michigan, Texas, everybody has been on this guy, and he seems to be on that trending upward swing when it comes to the recruiting aspect of colleges seeking out his services. But I think that when you look at Lott, the ceiling is extremely high. This guy is poetry in motion, so fluid with his movement, and he looks like it's so easy to him. But when he gets that ball in his hands, he turns into, an extreme weapon. Defensively, the same thing. He's a guy with great ball skills. He likes to get hands on receivers, and he closes on the ball with such speed and aggressiveness that you can't find those open windows. It's hard to throw on him. Just a guy with elite talent on both sides of the ball. But I really love him at the wide receiver position because he can be out wide, and if he gets in the slot, it's a nightmare for defensive coordinators all night.
Yeah, Panther Creek up there in Frisco probably is very happy to have him. That Frisco area is going crazy with the building and all that. I know that from just visiting the area. So I wouldn't be surprised if he had a few guys join him moving forward. I'm sure it's fun playing with him. His film is ridiculous. When we come back, Mark and I are going to discuss more players here on the portal. That's next. Looking for tickets to your next big event? Whether it's a concert, comedy show, or a sports game, finding the right ticket at the right price can be a headache. But with Gametime Picks, it's never been easier. Let me tell you how it works. With Gametime Picks, The app does all the hard work for you. It curates the best deals, and you don't have to waste time searching through endless ticket listings. I've been using Gametime Picks for a while now, and here's why I love it. The curated deals make it super simple to find great tickets at a great price. No more sifting through thousands of options. And here's the other one. This is just something I've always liked about Gametime. When you want to find the perfect seat for you, but you're not sure about how far away you are from the actual pitcher's mound or the stage or whatever it might be, you have the option to click on that seat and see your view from the seat to that venue. Where's the pitcher's mound? How far are you to the midfield point at a soccer match? Whatever it is you're trying to do, Gametime allows you to see it. And the best part, you're covered with Gametime's lowest price guarantee. If you find a better deal someplace else, they'll give you 110% of the difference. Ready to make the next event even better? Gametime is the place for you. Create an account and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Mark, we still got some explosive players to talk about. I want to start this segment off like I did the last one. I just watched this film for the first time this morning right before the show. And Tavius Ellis, a kid that's right down the road from where you live, he finds a way, even in the Metroplex, to always be the guy. When they're playing 8-10 yards off, he still ends up behind them.
Right.
The last time I checked, that was a good sign. Tell everybody about Tavius Ellis.
Well, I had a chance to meet, Tay Ellis, going into his freshman year as an eighth grader, and he's done nothing but excel every time. A 2-year starter over at Crowley High School. Great athletic frame, standing at about 6'2", about 180 pounds. Long, athletic, lean frame. His catch rate is just ungodly. I mean, this guy can go up and get it. And his competitive nature, at the snap, he really doesn't allow defensive backs to get hands on him. And he has the speed to stretch the field, a guy that can excel in the short to intermediate areas as well. And, he works with David Robinson as well, with always open as well. But this guy, his ceiling is so high, Brian, that you're going to continue to see him to attract attention on the recruiting trail. I mean, this guy has what you have to be successful at the next level, and there's a reason he's one of the top receiver targets in the class 2027. He's just scratching the surface when it comes to his skill set. I think every time that I see Ellis play, even in the setting, 7-on-7 or during the season, he just continues to get better. He continues to elevate his game, and I really, really love his hands, strong, big mitts that really attack the football at the catch point. So, he's the total package when it comes to the receiving position, and there's a reason that he's starting to be one of the most highly recruited guys coming out of the state of Texas.
Well, Crowley is another school that's always got ball players, but he's the guy I'm sure that teams, especially, he's got 2 years left. He probably won't see 10 plays the rest of his high school career on a 1st and 10 where there's not a safety shade in his direction because he gets deep. I love his film.
Absolutely.
Next up, Alito's got Kaydon Finley. This is a 26 kid that in some ways reminds me of Boobie Feaster because he's really good in zone. He's a kid that's got tremendously strong hands, but he's sneaky fast and he seems to find a way to get open. Tell everybody what you've seen from Kaydon Finley.
We're talking about a guy that had 56 receptions, over 1,000 yards, and 14 TDs last year, and 6'2", almost right to shade under 200 pounds. Real compact, stout build, great hands. I think he has some of the best hands in the country. Been seeing this guy for the last couple of years. Met him as an eighth grader when he was heading into Alito, and it's one of those things where he continues to get better every time you see him. Now this year, he was the main, guy when it comes to receiving out at Alito, and he faced double teams just about every night. I was at a game that he played against Denton Ryan in the regular season, which was a district matchup, and they shaded him with a safety, and they had press coverage in front of him. He still was able to get open, well over 100 yards, a couple of TDs. Just a bully in the blocking when it comes to that Alito run game, which they're very physical. They also had one of the top running backs in the country, Racing Guillory Jr. So he is a ferocious blocker. That's one of the things that makes his game well-rounded besides the receiving component is his ability to really be a physical guy out in space blocking. He really takes that tenacity and aggressiveness that he attacks the football with, and he brings that to the table in the run game. Kaydon Finley is the total package, and there's a reason that a lot of recruiting departments and coaches around the country are very, very high on Finley. This is a guy at the next level that you're going to see turn into an all conference type player.
I think that his game suits him well to play early because let's be honest, name a team in major P4 that doesn't run screens constantly. If you
Absolutely.
don't block, you know this from being around just the trainers and the high school coaches in Dallas. College coaches, they don't care if you're Jeremiah Smith. If you ain't blocking on them screens, you ain't going to get it done. So you was really smart of you to bring that up, Mark. And Caden's strong. You can tell he's put in time in that weight room. Again, this is why I said at the top of the show, the Dallas area kids all around. I mean, if you want to talk about Miami or something, I'm good with it. But the Dallas area kids come in more prepared to play than any other area in the country. Weight room, their mentality, the trainers, all of that stuff. As freshmen, give me Dallas over anything. And Kaydon Finley is a great example of that. Last up here, the kid that I want to talk about is Zion Robinson. Now, this is a kid I'm not as familiar with, so I'm going to lean on your expertise, but his offer list is legit. And it's a kid, it's another Metroplex guy. What do you think about Zion? And tell everybody your thoughts.
Listen, 6'4", 180 pounds off the rip. When he steps off the bus, he passes the eye test. Great ability to get off of press coverage. You're not going to get up on this guy and press him because he has that length that he can get off of press coverage and beat him with his hands. Then when he gets into his breaks, in and out of his breaks, so smooth with it. And then he can get deep, and he's a red zone threat. We're also talking about a guy that was a state championship guy in track, 4-star recruit. Colorado recently threw their hat into the ring. Zion Robinson is that guy. He can get it done, and I really like his ability to get underneath, work the middle routes, but also the deep ball as well. He's the complete package. And you mentioned just the Metroplex. It's just right now in the high school football in the state of Texas, the championships are in the Dallas area. You look at the DeSoto's, the
Return.
South Oak Cliffs, Duncanville's, Red Oak, Lancaster, North Crowley recently this year with the Quentin Gibson
Oh, yeah.
and all of those
Colorado.
guys. Listen, the state of Texas is right now is the Metroplex is the key contributor when it comes to state championships in the high school realms, and that goes over with the players and the talent and the coaching as well. You have to look at that as well. But for a long time, it was one of those things where the Houston area was probably a more dominant, when it comes to winning state championships. But right now, the head that is heavy that wears the crown, and it's the Metroplex with state championships.
Mark, I want to get you out of here on this. You've seen kids for a long time come out of Texas. And this is just open-ended question for me, got kind of off the cuff here. Track is huge in Texas. You've got all these trainers. Obviously, football in the Lone Star State is huge. What do you think the biggest factor is off the field? If you could only pick one of those, like is it the train? I mean, there's some elite trainers where y'all live. Is it the track? Is it like the insane amount of money these high school coaches so they keep them there? Like I lived in Florida forever. They lose coaches constantly because they don't pay them.
Right.
What's the biggest reason for the kids being so ready once they leave high school and become freshmen at the college level?
Well, I think it's a combination of what they're receiving. I think there's elite level coaching going on in high school. When you combine that with elite level training and elite level skill preparation, you have a key to success. The high level kids that are doing both or have a well-rounded skill set and playing multiple sports, you can look at that. It trickles down from the NFL. If let's take Patrick Mahomes for a second, a guy that came out of the state of Texas, baseball, basketball, football. He played more than one sport, and all of those intangibles go into being making you a competitive athlete when you get out ready to step on the field. And I think you have to have all of those attributes and traits. If you look at the highly recruited guys, they're not just one dimensional or they're not just one sport guys. They do things in variations, and I think that's the key to success. And then you also have to look at the level of exposure as well. I mean, social media, I think it's big. This is one thing that I talk about on your Mark show from week to week is the way to get the proper exposure. And I think if you have all of those things going for you, then those are the keys to success. But you have to mix it like a good gumbo or stew. You have to have all of those things together and the ingredients, and it comes together to be a great meal. So I think it's a combination of things. if you're getting the proper film film study as well. These guys that you're talking about on this list, they do all of these things, and you see it in their play when they step out onto the field. The guys that are successful are working at more than one aspect of their game routinely. It's something that they inherently do, regardless of what's going on outside. And those are the keys to success. You have to have that in order to be, it's not just about the physical attributes, it's the mental game as well. And then you have to understand scheme wise in what you're doing within your program. And I think the guys that lock in and do those things are the guys that are successful. Now, there's some guys that just wake up out of bed with things, but you have to culture that and navigate and put that together as well.
I think the culture point that you just brought up is really key. The culture in Texas in general, East Texas, I love East Texas, but they don't have the same facilities and all. It's a little different. You get some more raw kids there, but the upside's usually through the roof. Some
Right,
of the West Texas kids, the oil field kids, that's a
right,
little different too. But like the Metroplex has the full pot of gumbo that you're talking about. It's got
right,
everything. And
right,
I think that's why Michigan, USC, Florida State, Miami, everybody's going to go to Dallas outside
right.
of the Aggies and Horns. And that's just the way it is. Mark, tell everybody what you got going on and where they can find you on social media.
Well, Brian, I appreciate it, man. Look forward to these conversations more and more. I'm always here, to come on Locked On, and I appreciate the opportunity. You can follow me on Twitter at MarkHen44 on the Mark Sports. On Instagram, Mark, MARC_Hen, HEN44, on the MarkSports.com as well. The platform is rolling heavy. DR Sports, shout out to Jonathan Mumphrey and Dedication Respect Sports. We got a big tournament coming up this weekend over at North Crowley High School. Had a great one in Florida last week at the Villages 124 team. So definitely moving around the country with some scouting and things like that. The On Your Mark show is on every week from 11 to 12 on the Fishbowl Radio Network, live on Facebook. And you can follow the On Your Mark show YouTube channel. So, man, I'm all over the place with myriad of things, but talking ball is what I do. It's what I love to do. And man, anytime we definitely stay locked on and locked in.
All right, brother. I appreciate it. You can find us here on the portal at all your different favorite spots. YouTube. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, and any other number of places you get your podcasts. See you again tomorrow. Take care.